What is up, everybody? How are you guys doing today? Welcome to the live stream. And my mods will have to keep me honest here, but I think we're going to do a God today later today too, because I think we hit over 100 thumbs up on the live stream with Andy on Tuesday. So we'll do that as we get the stream going. But welcome, guys. This is kind of a new format I'm going to start. I'm still trying to have the time to get everything set up right. But I want to share with you guys a little bit of what's going on with the news, some of the things that I'm following and watching that have gone on this past week, what I think is coming up this next week. We'll be talking about spot price a little bit. We'll also be talking about some of the videos that I've put out recently, as well as a bunch of them that I have ready that I'm in the process of editing right now. And then we'll do some fun Q&A here. And going forward, I'm going to do my best to try to get a guest in here, another stacker, or maybe someone else that is willing to give up their Friday afternoon. So we'll see as far as other guests. But we're going to have fun today. We're going to go through a lot of stuff. So I want you guys to be as active as you can in the chat. Leave questions in there. I'll try to get to as many of those as I can today. But we got a lot of cool stuff coming up. The other thing we may be doing down the road too is timing. Right now, this is a good time for me as I'm kind of winding down my week for work. But I know it can be hard for those of you on the East Coast that are still, maybe just coming home from work. And then those of you that are on the West Coast, you're probably still working. So we may end up doing these a little bit later. We may move over to Saturday. Let me know in the comments what's best for you guys too. So we'll do a quick shout out to everybody that's in here. All right. So we've got Craig in here. Thank you, Craig. He's a great mod helping out. Michael Stacking. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Michael Stacking just hit 500 subscribers. So that is quite the accomplishment. It's not easy getting subscribers on YouTube, guys. It takes a lot of work to get there and a lot of content creation, a lot of getting ideas out there and trying to make it go. So you'll have to go check out his channel. Michael and the mods, if you guys want to put a link to Michael's channel in there, that'd be great. All right, let's see what else we got in here. We've got Joseph Lopez. Hopefully you're feeling better, buddy. And Sorcerer Stan's in here. And Sorcerer Stan has been supporting the channel quite a bit, as well as I run into him all over the place. He's all over all the silver and gold communities. So you'll see him in a lot of different chats. Yoxnav is how I'm going to say it, but hey, welcome. And then we've got Rick in here too, Rick Bruce Roche. He's also been a great supporter. We have a little bit of email chat going back and forth. The Humble Stacker's in here too. He is very humble. You know you're humble when your name says Humble Stacker in it. It's funny. Everybody wants to see my surf videos. I do surf. I haven't really filmed myself surfing. Maybe we'll do that later this summer, but it's funny, I'm not a pro surfer. If I was, I would be making surf videos. I would be out surfing right now. I haven't been surfing nearly as much as I want to because I'm making all this content for you guys, running for my job, being a dad, being a father, husband. I guess a dad and a father are the same thing. And just life is busy. I still haven't even worked. I haven't even done the taxes yet for last year. We're still in the process of doing all that. But anyway, Yankee Stacking is not really a Yankee, or is he? Is Silver Dragons really a dragon? I don't know. But I do surf. We'll try to get some videos for you guys. I do have a GoPro camera at the bottom of the ocean that has my first video ever for the channel. And I had one on my head up here. I had one down on my board. In that one on my board, I was so worried that it was going to fall off. It did. It fell off and I lost it. So I think that's my second GoPro camera I've lost now, which is a bummer. Okay, so yeah, Michael just hit 500, which is awesome. Okay, so there's a couple things I want to pull up. I just need to kind of pull them up here real quick. So one of the things I want to share with you guys is all the stuff that's going on about the bond market, okay? So let's see if I can share my screen this way. Okay, I think you guys can see that okay. All right. The stock market's down today. Cryptos are down today. Gold and silver are going up. This is your problem right here. Now, I say problem, just speaking in generalities of the investing community. I don't know about you guys, but I do want my gold and silver to go up over time. I don't want it to go skyrocketing right now. I'm still in my accumulation phase. For me, I wish gold was closer to $1,500 or even lower than that, so I could buy more of it. And with silver, I would love to be buying silver at $5. I don't think we're going to see either of those numbers ever again. And so you've got to kind of check your reality and retune it. And so it is fun to see gold and silver go up, but then when you go to buy more of it, you're like, shoot, I need this to go back down. We can still see prices of precious metals go down and test the 200-day moving average, which is going to continue to move up. I will be getting charts that will be showing on this channel here pretty soon. I just need to get the time to get my trading view all set up and dialed in. So going forward, hopefully next Friday, we'll be able to start doing this, but I'll be showing you guys the spot price of gold and silver. We'll be looking at the futures market. And the reason I want to look at that with you guys is I want to help you understand where things are going and where things have been. Okay, it's important to do that. You want to look for the trends and the waves and in the charts because it gives you an idea of mathematically what's most likely to happen. So probabilities, okay? Now, when we look at stuff like this is outside of those realms of probability. And so you also need to consider what's going on in the macro out there, macroeconomic type situations that could change things. So just here's a couple things that have happened in the last couple of days to be aware of. So you got this article here from CNN that says Dow sinks 800 points as bond market starts to freak out over Trump's tax bill. Okay, so that's interesting. You've got this one over here with the bond market shudders at tax bill deepens deficit worries. Okay, New York Times, CNN, publications that hate Trump. So even if it wasn't that negative, they would probably still have some really negative stuff to say. The bond market is getting awfully yippy again. Bond market concerns over Trump tax bill over here. Equity markets jitters amid weak PMIs and bond market concerns. So you can see there's a lot of that going on in the news. Now, I'm on Google right now. You guys can, let's see. I think it's in here. You can actually set this up if you guys aren't aware of that yet. I'll have to go back and research it again, but it's been a while since I've set it up. But you can have this set up to where you actually get specific news sent to you via email, once a day. And you can get that so that it's coming in so you guys are kind of on top of it. But let's just look at this one here. I don't know how much of it's going to show to me before it wants me to buy stuff, right? Yeah, not much. Okay, well, I'm not doing that. All right, let's see here. See if we have anything that's a little bit sooner. All right, so you've got some stuff going on with the Trump bill. I don't know if any of these guys are going to talk about what happened in Japan, but Japan had several days where no one showed up to buy the bonds, and that's kind of freaky. That's how countries function. That's how cities function, is they sell bonds to basically raise funds to operate. Okay, the other way they can get it is through taxes. All right, so they've got some concerns here. I'm not going to go into all the details of it, but you guys can go check that out. But that's partially what's kind of moving the markets here. So let's see. I think what we'll do too is hit Kitco, kitco.com real quick for you guys. I find the app to actually be easier to read sometimes than going into their website. But right here's the gold price. You can see that gold is up almost 2% in one day. Let's see if we can get a better view of that chart. All right, yep. We can zoom out this way for you guys. So hopefully this isn't too small for you to see. But this is looking at the minute. Let's say we go to the hour. Let's go. Let's actually just go to the day so you guys can see this from December. All right. This is gold spot price, guys. So here we had a double top, okay? And anyway, you kind of started the dip down to here. If we get a triple top, that's also going to be a sign of probably some more pullback in the price. But the main thing I want to do is kind of zoom in this area just for you guys to kind of think through things, okay? One of the things we're going to cover off in some of this, and I'll go into a lot more detail of it in my mentor program on Slice, is how do we read this? How do we understand all of this stuff? When's a good time to buy? When's a good time to sell? So a couple things just to point out to you guys, and this is why it's important to understand how to read some of the charts as well as to read the room, which would be what we just did in the news articles. You get these time periods where we have a pretty good run, and then you get a pullback, okay? Runs do not continue to go forever. They always pull back. Otherwise, it'd go to infinity, right? And there won't be any more money for that. Now, hyperinflation, you could get something that looks pretty straight, kind of like the line here. But what I want to help you guys do is kind of understand a little bit more where you're going to get into some of these dips. And those are the dips where you want to be buying more. However, you can't just wait for those dips, because if you were way back down here in February and you were waiting for it to go lower, it hasn't gone lower. So that's why in general, I don't think you need to know all the charts. I don't think you need to study it like crazy. I think it's helpful if you're looking to buy some precious metals and you have a larger amount of money and you're wanting to buy more of it at once. I think this stuff's going to be helpful. But if you get just a paycheck in and you have some extra money, every week, every couple of weeks, then what I like to do is just dollar cost average, try to go buy some silver every week. Here in California, it's kind of a pain because I've got to find local people to buy from, or I've got to buy $2,000 worth to not pay the 7.5% sales tax. Or coin shows, you can go to those, and a lot of times that does not happen there. Dollar cost averaging. If you can buy a little bit every interval, you can see how it would continue to be going up. You'd pay a little bit more, but you would have had a lot of times where you paid less than if you just waited to buy it all today. All right, so just wanted to kind of show you guys that for a minute. So we'll go back to this screen. Yeah, 7.5%, not fun. And then if you want to sell your precious metals, technically you're going to pay a 28% capital gains tax. And that's if it's, well, I believe that is long, and well, that'll be long term. If you're in short-term capital gains, you sell in less than a year, you're going to be paying whatever your income rate is, which for mine is way higher than 28. So there are things you can do. There's some tricks around there. I can't give you guys tax advice on here, and I can't tell you all the tricks because this is public. Okay. If you want to do a one-on-one coaching, or maybe in Slice, we can hit some of those things, some of the tips and tricks for you guys on that a little bit. Now, each state's different. So you need to understand what the rules are in that state. And if you're going to be buying gold or silver in a different state, check out those rules as well. I can have things, delivered to my dad. He lives in Utah. There's no sales tax on precious metals there. So there are ways to kind of get around some of those things, and you're not going to have a big problem with it. Where you tend to run into the problem is with places that are online that need to conform to everything. They're gonna have to do that. The biggest culprit is eBay, and this is one of the things I do not like about eBay, and I would caution any of you that live in a state that collects sales tax on precious metal purchases, is eBay breaks the law all day long, and they won't do anything about it. But what they do is, here in California, as long as I buy $2,000 worth of precious metals, any combination of gold, silver, and platinum, it would probably be palladium as well, but good luck finding palladium at a Costco or in a local coin shop. Most of them aren't going to have it. But here in California, if you buy $2,000 worth of any combination at the same time, you're exempt from having to pay that sales tax. When you go to eBay, they don't care. They just look at one item. If you go buy a gold coin that's 1 ounce and it's $3,700 or so, you don't pay the sales tax. But if you go and buy a 30 or 40 different coins that add up to $2,000, they still charge you the sales tax. There's nothing you can really do about it. So anyway, and technically that's illegal. They shouldn't be doing that. So for that reason, I don't buy from eBay very often, even though I have a few things that are in the shopping cart that I'd love to buy. It just doesn't make it cost effective. If you're already paying a 3 to 5% premium for gold, or maybe even a 10% premium for like a 1/10 ounce of gold, I don't want to go add 7.5% on top of that. It's defeating. Okay. So yeah, class action lawsuit. I don't know about that, but they're definitely out of compliance. And if I cared enough, I would probably go report them to the state, but they're just going to lose business doing it that way. So they should go fix that on their own. I had something similar happen to me over in Costco, where I bought, I think it was like 3 10-ounce silver bars, and I bought a like 1 ounce of gold. This would have been, I was with OC Stacker, and I think it was more around October time last year. And they were trying to charge me sales tax on the silver, not on the gold. And so I ended up having to go back into the warehouse room and talk to the manager of the store. And we had to pull up the documentation from the state of California to help them understand how the sales tax law works. She had to go and contact corporate to confirm that she could do these changes. And then we had to go and educate all of the people at the checkout registers, because there was a bunch of people that were buying silver bars. And anyway, that took a whole hour process. It would have been interesting to film it if they would have let us do it. But, even Costco gets it screwed up sometimes at the local places. So a couple things just to be aware of with this, and we'll move on. Know if you have to pay sales tax when you're buying in your state. Also know what that amount is. Some places are 1,000, some are 1,500, some are 2,000, some of them are going even higher. If you're in a blue state, there's a good chance you're going to pay sales tax on precious metals. In a red state, probably not. Look at the receipt. Look at what they're about to charge you. Make sure that it conforms with the rules and regulations. If you don't know what they are, go find out what those are. I just go do a Google search on it. You could also ask AI too, and it would pull up the right site for you to look at. The other thing I would do too is I would kind of base your purchases in those states, potentially with other people. Like you can pull together and make one transaction, and you guys kind of split it up. So that's another thing you can do. You can also do coin shows. Most coin show vendors are not going to charge you sales tax. So you can save a little bit there too. Now, technically speaking, I believe you're supposed to go back and pay it on your own. That's how the internet used to work before they started taking the sales tax out. So you'll need to look at your state laws on that, but you might still be on the hook for paying the sales tax. Whether you do it or not is up to you, and you can talk to your tax advisor. All right, let's see where you guys are at real quick here. So I don't know if you have any questions for me yet, maybe just some comments. Okay. Annie Oakley's in here, but she's driving, so welcome. Hello. And we have QB Boogie. Gold is flashing red. So we'll take a look at gold here in a minute too. Let's see. I think we've just ended already. So let's go into the hour, and you guys can see exactly what just happened here. So you can see that pattern. Oh, I got to show it to you guys first. Let me add it back to the stage so you can see it here. So you can see that right here. It's starting to top off a little bit and come back down. These are called candles versus just doing a line chart, guys. So there's the line chart, right? The candles can be pretty cool because they kind of help you understand how far it moved in that time period. And this one's looking at the hour. You can go down to the minute. And if you go down to the minute, you can see, oh my gosh, it looks like it's crashing all of a sudden. But you got to pull it way back. Okay, this is by the minute. So that's going to be a crazy looking chart. There you go. So know what you're looking at when you're looking at charts, guys, because they can kind of throw you off. Okay. All right. A couple other things I wanted to show you guys too as we're going through this. But as we do that real quick, I did want to do a quick shout out to Clifton. Thank you for the super chat. We'll throw that up on the screen here for a second. Thank you very much. Every little bit helps and keeps the channel going. You know, if you guys have a channel and you want to come on and be a guest, let me know. We can throw you up today or we can get you on another day. All right, let's see if I have any other questions from you guys before I jump into the next thing I wanted to hit. They can't. We can't. Okay, bonds are going to break us. So I really think we're going to get into a situation where no one wants to buy the bonds except for uneducated people that think that getting a certain return is going to be the right way to go. And when I say uneducated, I mean people that are buying bonds right now should understand how the situation of the bond market is, and you know, the risk of more inflation. We're going into that second wave of inflation right now. And if you're buying a lot of bonds, you'll also understand the issue with other people not necessarily wanting to buy those, and that the price is probably going to keep going up. So that's where you're going to have some issues. But you know, I think the Fed's just going to start buying them all up, which technically is a form of quantitative easing. You guys remember that term? But it's more stealthy. They just they won't actually call it out the way it is. All right, let's see. And then we're going to go to something else here as soon as I get your comments real fast. You want me to go change it? If I had time to fight that, I could. I really like the idea of all of the sound money groups that are out there and everything else. Yeah, Walmart, probably not that great either, Captain Stacks. You know, one of the problems with Walmart, especially their marketplace, is it's not really Walmart. It's a bunch of independent companies doing stuff. And you've got some people selling some really bad stuff there for not good prices. And you might even be getting fakes. Let's see. Welcome, Chetch Stacker, Brian. So Brian just formed an LLC in Florida to be a mobile precious metals dealer. The only taxes I need to be involved with are any transactions under $500. He moved from California after 46 years. Yeah. So I've lived all over the country, guys. I have lived in New York, New Jersey, Illinois, Arizona, and Utah, and California. And we just came back to California. I grew up down here, and it was not the best move from a financial standpoint because everything was super expensive. You know, I basically spent twice as much on a house, and I got about a third as much as what I had. It's super expensive here, but we had to come down for health reasons. And when we get a chance to do a different setting, we'll be doing that. We've been looking out in the North Carolina area. So we'll see if that ends up working out. You know, will I be able to sell a house before a real estate crash? Are we going to have a real estate crash? And a little comment on that for a minute too, guys. You can have a real estate crash while your house appreciates, okay? And it's maybe not the right term. We might need a different term for it. But let's say the rate of inflation starts kicking in at 20% per year for the next 5 years, and your house goes up by 5%. You are actually having a housing crash, in my opinion, because you are not keeping up with inflation, and you're basically losing 15% of the value in your house priced against the dollar on an annual basis. And so you'd be much better off not having all of your money tied up in your house and having it tied up into gold and silver. You know, we'll see if there's a lot of quantitative easing and there's a lot of printing going on. You'll probably see the cryptos do really well, especially Bitcoin at that time. But we'll most likely need a crash to happen before the Fed goes crazy and really starts printing money. But, you know, other things could happen. They could just start printing money and decide, hey, let's just go into inflation and raise everything. It would be kind of crazy, and it would kind of put a whole reason why we should get rid of the Fed out. But, people do crazy stuff. So you can have your housing prices going up, and you can still be losing a lot of value in it relative to other things you could buy. That's really interesting. All right, let's see. The other thing that stinks in California is we have a flat 10% sales tax on vehicles. And even if you're trading in a car that's worth $100,000 and you're buying one that's worth $10,000, you're still going to be paying 10% tax on the full $10,000. In Utah, you would basically pay no taxes because you're selling a $100,000 car and buying a $10,000 one. So you've already paid the taxes in the past. And if you ever want to register your car here, they will ask for all your receipts from another state. And if you didn't pay 10% taxes in another state, let's say there's only a 5% sales tax, California will take an extra 5% from you. Yep, that's how it works. So I don't think we can ever pay off the federal deficit. Okay, we can get the annual deficit to zero. We could even have a surplus. Okay, that is just a function of how much tax receipts we bring in and money from tariffs, and then how much we spend. Okay, so it's possible for us to balance the budget. It's possible for us to have some positive cash flow coming in. We're never going to pay off the 36 trillion, almost 37 trillion in debt. And we're never going to get to the point where we have between 142 trillion and 200 trillion, whatever the real number is there, on all the outstanding IOUs, promises, Social Security, Medicaid, government pensions, all of that stuff for federal. The odds of us ever paying that back are very slim. Now, I'm not going to say it's impossible, because we could have some new revolutionary invention with robotics, and maybe even with robotics, and maybe even with AI, to the point where we get to where there's so much advancement and the cost of everything comes down so much that theoretically there could be a massive surplus. Okay, there could be a ton of money that's coming in. I don't exactly know how or what would cause that, but anytime we have a big revolution and something new is invented, a lot of times you have a lot of extra money that's coming in. I'm hoping that we shrink the government down from the standpoint of making it much more efficient. I like to have things be more at the state and local level. And I don't like the idea of income tax. I don't like the idea of the Federal Reserve, and I don't like the idea of the IRS. All of that stuff got put in, just a little over 100 years ago, and it was not constitutional. Yes, they made a new amendment, but go check out how that came about. The 16th Amendment is pretty sketchy. A lot of people didn't vote. They kind of rammed it through real quick. And there were a lot of, broken promises. Only the rich are going to pay 1%. And, in a lot of ways, I consider myself a rich person, right? live in a great place and everything, but I am nowhere near what they were considering to be rich. But, if you've got a house and you've got a car or two and you've got the ability to go eat outside at a restaurant, I feel like you're kind of a rich person. But this was really talking about more of the oligarchy, or the oligarchs that are at that 1%, which are going to be in the multi-billions to do that. I don't have anywhere near that. So when you look at situations like that, could it happen? Should it happen? I hope so. But we're going to have to really revamp everything. He wants me to be the face. I don't know. My hairline's starting to recede a little bit. I think it's all the stress and everything else going on in life. So hopefully Stacking Surfer always has hair for you guys on this show, and I don't have to wear a hat all the time. People are buying T-bills. But even at that, the issue with the T-bills, guys, is, will we default? Are we going to pay them back? If people start freaking out that might not happen, because if we default on our debt, you don't get paid back on your T-bill. Okay. So if other countries stop doing that in companies and organizations, then that's how you're going to have a problem. Okay, I'll answer this. Okay, we'll go through. So you guys throw questions in here. We'll jump through a few of these. What was New York life like? Did you get robbed every day? So I never got robbed in New York. I lived in Hell's Kitchen, but it was a nice corner. If I were to walk south, you get into the red light district and there's just crap everywhere. And then I was right by Times Square. So I would walk over to the Times Square subway station and I would ride that down to, I think it was 45th Street and Madison Avenue. I worked at Young and Rubicam Advertising. It was the last ad agency on Madison Avenue. I did have TV commercials go on in the Midwest, and it was a nutty job, man, because I only got 4 hours off every day. So I was working 20-hour days, and I made more money from overtime than I did from the salary I had. And I get bronchitis like every other month. So it was nuts. The ad agency I worked for is the one that they used to model off of Mad Men TV show, if you guys have seen that. So that's where I worked and lived. One time I did try rollerblading to work, and that was the most dangerous thing I could ever do there because you had to jump in between the street and the sidewalk all the time. There's just too many people, too many cars. So I think I got on the subway and carried them home later that day. But New York was okay at the time. Now it's quite a bit more dangerous than it was. But we were never afraid for our lives. I was having to come home to help my wife. We did in vitro fertilization for our kids. And I had to come home at like 10 o'clock at night and give her a shot. I have to give her a shot every night. A big horse needle, bless her heart. And then I had to go back to work. And when I came home at, 3 or 4 in the morning, they did have a car service bring me home. The subway is not safe. Once you get past midnight, it starts to get more dangerous. Yep. California is super, super expensive. And, a lot of you guys have been here or you've lived here. So it's a great place. California is awesome. Now, I think if we can get the voter records straightened out and we don't have dead people or people that are illegal here voting, I think you're going to see California change a lot in the demographics here. I think it's been captured. And then you've also pushed a lot of more conservative people out. This used to be a red state. Let's see what we got here. Washington state governor recently. Oh yeah, I did. That is crazy. Into law. Part of that will start taxing the sale of precious metals going forward. And then I believe it's also like some crazy amount for state taxes too, when you go to sell it on the secondary market. So I do think we're in a recession right now. But it's a weird recession because there's so much credit available to people still. I always base my recession news off of Costco parking lots and Disneyland attendance. Okay, it's not a science. It's more of an art when I'm doing it that way. But Disney just came out with a new deal. Let me see if I can pull this up for you guys. All right, I want to show you this real quick because it's kind of important. Not that one, this one. Okay. Let me show you guys this real quick. This just came up and right there. All right. You guys see that? Okay. So let's see. I think you can see my cursor when I move that around. All right. This is what I want to show you guys on this real quick. Disneyland's having its 70th anniversary. Okay, I think last year was the Walt Disney Company's 100-year anniversary. Anyway, tickets are freaking expensive going to Disneyland, and oftentimes we go because we've got a lot of family that comes down from Utah that wants to go, nieces and nephews, and all of that. I'm the oldest of my family, so there's still some younger family members. Just a month ago or a couple days ago, you couldn't get any kind of a discount through Costco for Disney. You had to just do the Southern California resident one. And that's where you basically paid about $400 for a pass that would get you into 3 days. And that was it. That's all it did. Now, that pass is still a good savings from the $220 or $205 that they're charging, let's say, for Memorial Day. Okay. If you go on a day that's off season, you may be able to find like 4 days in the year where it's $130. But most of it, you're going to be 180 to over $200 a day for it. Super expensive. Now, up until I would say the end of last year, the parks have been so slammed full with people that they're sold out for 4 or 5 days in a row. And if you don't get a reservation, you're not going. That tells me the economy is humming and people still have, a fair amount of money. You don't spend $200 to go to Disneyland if you're having a hard time putting food on the table. Okay. Now, what happens when you get into a recession is Disney has to start putting out promotions and offers to get people to come in because their attendance starts going down. Okay. They might want to try reducing their prices to some degree, but they haven't really done that. Okay. They usually just give you more add-ons. Now, I've got a master's in advertising and marketing, and this is how I would recommend doing it over dropping the price. It helps you keep a higher premium price and be seen as a high premium brand. So what they're doing now is they're not giving you the park hopper. That's like a $40 to $50 a day to add on. Okay. And then they're giving you this $30 multi-pass per day to, actually that's different. They're adding a few things in here. This tells me they're getting more desperate. So Lightning Lane is like another $40 a day too, I believe. And then they're giving you $30 in dining card to get you in. So this is probably, well, it's online. I'm guessing it's for everybody that has a Costco card or a Costco membership. So they're basically adding in here, taking $80 off per ticket per day off of already their discounted prices. So you're basically getting 3 days for the price of 2, plus they're adding all this stuff in there. That tells me Disney's starting to get very desperate. And why is that important? Well, because to me, that's an inflation indicator, not inflation, a recession indicator. They're slowing down. People aren't spending as much money. Why are recessions important to understand? Because the money's slowing down, the engine's really starting to break down. And that affects our jobs, potentially, our income. So you guys got to watch out for that. All right. Yeah, property taxes, that should be totally illegal. If you pay your house off, you should not have to pay anything else to maintain your house and stay on the property. Death taxes do the same thing. What if you made $50 million and you were super successful and you go to pass that on to your kids and they take 50% of it away? Now, I think it's like 13 million a kid you can donate, or not donate, but give to them tax-free. It wasn't always like that. It used to be, I think, 1 or 2 million, maybe up to 3. Why are they taking your wealth from you? Why are they doing that? I think you should only be taking taxes, if you're going to take any at all, when you go to consume or use things. All right, so let's see what else we got in here. Hyperinflation comes, crisis comes. Do you think the internet will still be operative so stackers know how much to get for their metal? Yes, however, the spot price is going to be all over the place. So you have to remember that the spot price of gold and silver has nothing to do with the United States per se. It has to do with the broader market, and it's a world market. So we could have hyperinflation in the United States. Other countries could not have hyperinflation, and we could see the price of spot really not moving a tremendous amount. Okay. What you might see is it'll still move though, by the way, because the dollar is still, there's still a lot of money here in the US that's going to affect that. It is denominated into dollars that we see here. So you will see it going up, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to keep pace with that inflation rate. Okay. So, and you've seen that the last several years, right? We had the inflation go up in 2021, 22, 23. And we really didn't see gold moving very much until last year. So that's just an example of that. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is you've got the premiums on top of that. So as hyperinflation sets in, it's going to cost companies like Scottsdale Mint more money to make the silver and gold, and therefore they're going to charge more for their product. And so you're going to get bigger premiums as hyperinflation kicks in. At least that's my understanding of it, and that's kind of my thought around it. Now, if a lot of people aren't buying gold and silver, you can't afford it, or people are having to dump it in order to buy groceries, then you could see those premiums coming down if we start to flood the market. So there's a couple different levers and mechanisms you've got to watch out for. But the internet will be around. You'll be able to see that. Now, if we have a Carrington effect, which is basically a massive coronal ejection from the sun that wipes out a lot of our electronics, or if you have an EMP, or if we have a cyber attack on the electrical grid, then you wouldn't have access to the internet. You wouldn't really know what the spot price is, and it would have to be based on what you guys remember it being and kind of your thoughts locally to barter until the internet's back up. All right, let's see. Kenshi. Oh yes, Kenshi. I think you had a good day yesterday, but maybe not as good a day today because it's been kind of going down quite a bit. But yeah, Bitcoin did hit an all-time high, guys, yesterday. And here's the deal. I just don't see Bitcoin going up 10x. I think silver is going to do way higher percentage-wise from here on out than Bitcoin is, at least over this next cycle. So time your markets, watch out for your stuff there. And the other thing, Kenshi, is I'm not trying to get rich quick off of this kind of stuff. I make my money off of creating something of value, not off of trying to make money from an asset. I hope my assets go up, don't get me wrong. But I find most of the people that are really chasing after crypto are really trying to get rich quick. And they're trying to go after that. People in precious metals are looking to save their wealth. And they hope that it continues to go up with inflation or outpace it. Yeah, I don't know about that. We'll have to look. You'll have to tell me more about that. But if it only affected 150 people, that would be a totally different thing. How would we win it without taxation? You can totally win it without taxation, but I don't think we would have had it if we didn't have taxation. I also don't think we would have had World War I. Kenshi, if you go do some more research on that, go figure out who actually created those wars and started them. And you'll get back to a banking family that's still controlling everything right now. All right, let's see. A good book is The Creature from Jekyll Island. So go take a look at that. You're going to have some taxes, though. Bald surfer money. Uh-oh. Let's see here. Yeah, 20 hours. I'm telling you guys, like, that was nuts. Like, I got really sick. And then my in-laws showed up one day and took us down to Florida. And my pregnant wife got, at that time, in vitro work, so she got shipped off to Utah. And she didn't come back to New York. I had to move myself away from New York. And then I went to Northwestern in Chicago and went to grad school after that. But 20 hours, it's brutal, man. Silver has not failed. It hasn't even started its run yet. Kenshi, I would say the same thing when Bitcoin went from 60 back down to 15,000. You could ask the same thing, has Bitcoin failed? That's exactly where we're at with silver. All right. So yeah, those of you that are big silver stackers, you're gonna have to hold in there a little bit longer. It's probably going to be another year or two before it really takes off. But I fully expect to see that we're going to have triple-digit silver in this run. We might even see it go significantly higher than that. It depends on if systems break or if we just continue to have the dollar, lose value. If the dollar breaks, though, and we have massive hyperinflation, or like I talked to Andy about with Operation Sandman, if that actually happened, you could have like a 30% depreciation in the price where it just drops 30% in one day on the dollar, and you would see gold and silver really go up. In a situation like that too, you're going to see a massive problem with the bond market and the stock market. Therefore, it will most likely crash Bitcoin and all of the cryptos. Now, if people can move their money out fast enough, which they probably wouldn't be able to in a situation like that, they could potentially shore up the cryptos, or they can move into gold and silver. I don't think you'll be able to, though. So, I bring a show up like that with Andy, not to freak you guys out. It's to say, hey, there's a concept out here. There's a possibility that could happen. So how do you get ready and prepared for it? Well, the way you get ready and prepared for it is to have silver. And I know Kenshi likes to troll us, and I know he has a bunch of silver. So if you're going to do crypto, if you're going to put a lot of money in the stock market, if you're going to buy bonds, if you're going to have a lot of real estate, why not have a small portion of 1 to 3% in gold that could back up your wealth? Why not have 1 or 2% in silver that can be used for bartering if you need it? You lose your job or something else goes completely wrong in the world. And if it doesn't, go back and look at what the prices were 100 years ago for gold and silver. We're way higher than that. So I don't really see it being a negative. Now, if you start to get into the fact where you're 20% of your net worth or 20% of your investable income is in gold and silver, then I would be a little bit cautious. Are you starting to panic? Okay, and I've got a video coming out. Well, it'll come out soon. It's going to talk about panic buying. Okay, you don't want to panic buy at the same time. So you want to have a little bit of liquidity. You want to have some cash around too. Gold and silver doesn't really yield anything. So for those of you that are in retirement age, you need that cash flow coming in. And so you're gonna be in other assets. But let's say the stock market did take a big 50 to 60% crash, or heaven forbid it's 90%. If you've got gold and silver, that's going to go up. Okay, it might go down a little bit with it, but it's going to start going up, and it can offset some of those losses. And that's one of the reasons you want to have a little bit of diversification in asset classes. All right, let's see. Let's see what else you guys got me. So, yeah, I get it. Captain Stacks is flying out of San Diego, and actually it looks like he updated his picture there from the airplane. Now that's interesting. I haven't seen that yet in San Diego. That tells you that they're having a little bit of a border problem with the cartels probably too. Holy moly. Bubblegum's locked up everything. That's crazy. All right, let's see what else you guys got in here. Shuffle Silver, welcome, man. Just got out of work for the week, driving home with a surfer. There you go. And we've got Neophyte here too. That's not bad. And then OC was in here. OC's in here. We'll say hi to him. All right, so the key to all of this stuff is community, guys. That's why we do live streams. So my videos I put out are what help the channel grow. It's how you gain new people. It's also how you get a bunch of information into an 8 or 12 minute segment so it's digestible, so you guys can to learn. And this is where I come to learn from you guys too. So you got the chat, but this is where we build the community. This is where we start to talk about things. So we will do a GAW here in a minute. All right, let's see what we got here. So I do trade the markets. I just don't do a lot of it. About 2021, I saw the market starting to have a lot of froth in it. And I was able to double my IRA in about 45 days. And it was nuts because I was spending about 4 hours on the stock market, watching everything and doing a lot of day trading. My wife said no more. I was kind of a nervous wreck over it. So I stopped doing that. A lot of concentration in a short period of time, you can beat the market and you can beat the indices. Long term, you usually cannot beat that. And so you got to be very careful picking individual stocks. But I've got a lot of stock in the company I work for. I have mining stocks. I cover off all of that in my mentor program from Slice. You can find a link down below. There's a small fee. I'm going to be running a sell on that. I think hopefully we'll get it set up for Monday for next week, 30% off for you guys. But I'll be showing you all of my trades I'm doing there on the mining stocks. If people have interest, I might show you what I'm doing in the crypto market. I do have cryptos. And I do have, I don't have any other real technology stocks at the moment. And part of the reason for that is I've been putting it more into commodities. But I do like, there's a lot of stocks out there that I do like. A lot of people got a good upside on Tesla. It's not a car company. It's more of I would call it an app company or an AI company. It's kind of between those two. And if they start building robots and those robots are going all over the place, I think they're probably going to go way up, especially if they also have self-driving cars and compete with Uber and Lyft. So, there's huge potential in a lot of these stocks. But this is my big but with the stock market right now. Go look at the PE ratios and compare those ratios to historical ratios. And you'll find that everything's very, very frothy. I think Palantir stock is sitting at somewhere around 400 with a PE ratio. 30 is a really high number, maybe even 50. 400 is ridiculous. So that makes no sense. That's basically trading 400 times higher than what their earnings are today. So to me, that looks like something that is going to pull back and have some issues once the market weakness starts to set in. But I look at everything like to me, it's not just about accumulating as much gold and silver as I can forever and ever and ever and ever, and then just not doing anything else. It's about ride the waves, right? Stacking surfer. So one of the waves that I want to ride right now is this gold bull run. Let me see if I can pull up a chart for you guys real quick. Let's see if I can find it. Give me just a second here. So if you understand the markets and you understand the charts, so I'm going to pull a couple of these that Kevin shared. Let me just get them loaded real quick. Well, you don't need that anymore. Okay, that's kind of a cool AI picture that got created. That's kind of fun. If you ever see a pile of gold like that at the beach, grab it and run, I think. Okay, let's look here. Okay, here's the other one. Now, these charts are a little bit dated. If you're a member of Kevin's charting group, basically, then you'll get more updated charts. But what I wanted to share with you guys here is we have a pretty good size cup and handle here for gold. With silver, it's 45 years long. When you see a cup and handle, you've got about an 80% probability that it's going to go up. And you'll see like kind of a mess that's down towards the far right of that chart on the handle, the little handle part. It'll bounce around and then it'll confirm and it'll take off. And you can see how it went up here. You can see that he's got it listed as a greedy zone. The greedy zone is where it has the potential of going a lot higher, but it also has the potential of being on the low end of that. So if you understand these charts, you can see that gold is in a breakout. All right. And then okay, well, this is an easier way to view it this way. Okay. So when you look at this chart here too, this is a capital rotation. And so you're going to be looking at it moving from where the red arrow is here in the middle that says major breakout down to the far right. So Kevin's looking at this basically saying somewhere between now and, let's call it 2028 to 2032, he expects to see gold hitting somewhere in the $8,000 to $12,000 mark. And you're going to see all these charts that go back and forth and everything else. So the reason I'm bringing those things up is there's cycles. So if we see a capital rotation confirmed here pretty soon with the stock market, and we're not there yet because the stock market's still pretty high, you have to have a bunch of cash leave the stock market and move into the gold and silver market. When you see that happen and that's confirmed, it's going to keep moving up. It's going to push gold higher. Retail investors and everybody else starts talking about gold and they start doing that. So think about how many people are talking to you about crypto or mention it and how much it's being up on the news. When you see gold replacing Bitcoin in that conversation, you're getting up to the top of it. And then I'll be rotating into other markets there. Now I'm not going to sell all my gold because gold's also wealth insurance. I'm not going to sell all my silver because we could still have everything, get wiped out. And I might want to have that to buy stuff. I also have food storage and water and ammunition and guns and things like that to be able to protect my family. But yeah, I do the markets. I just don't do a lot of trading, but I do some. And so I am in my mentor program on Slice. I'm helping people understand why I'm investing in certain mining stocks. Also, why I'm not putting a lot into that quite yet. And I've been putting more of it into physical. I also go into more details on where I'm buying, when I'm buying, how much I'm buying. And I'll be giving more details on how I'm getting stuff at spot or below spot. So that's going to be in there too. Yeah, I haven't seen that yet. I haven't looked into that one. All right, I feel like I'm like way behind what you guys are saying though. So let me scroll down here. You want me to do a book club? Okay, stop right here. We got 60 people on here. If you have not read The Creature from Jekyll Island, you got to go do that right now. And it's a big book. Okay, I hate Amazon right now because they took $10,000 from me and they're not giving it back. And I can't even really contact them, so I'm not very happy with them right now. But I will show you this real quick. What in the world? You know what? Forget Amazon. We'll just go here and show it to you guys this way. Let's see. We'll go to Thrift Books. Forget Amazon. All right. Go buy it here. All right. So G. Edward Griffins goes into this book. It's awesome. I don't know if it'll tell us how many pages are on here. I got the audiobook because this thing is a beast. I don't know if he has, 608 pages. It takes a while to go through it. But you will come out after reading this understanding the nature of money in the United States, the difference between money and currency. You'll start to understand the difference of debasement and what happened when we had the gold confiscation, what happened with the S&L crisis. You'll also better understand what happened when Nixon took us off the gold standard in '71. So great book. If you have not read this, I think it should be the next thing that you're focused on reading. Oh, and you guys can't see it. Let me go back. I got the wrong page up. Here we go. This is where I also don't really like StreamYard when you're trying to flop between pages. Okay, so this is what you're looking for here, guys. This is the book. Okay. We got to go through. There we go. Oh, that keeps pushing me up as a new page. All right, give me just a second. This is the technology. They don't really let you set this up right. Okay, so here's the actual book that I'm trying to show you guys. Thrift Books. You can go buy it from them. Or you can go get an audio book of it, but that'll probably be through Audible. Anyway, good book. I highly recommend it. If you haven't read it yet, I would go do that. This is not only is it a good book to help you understand the US and economy, but it's a killer book from the standpoint of helping you guys understand where we might be going next. G. Edward Griffins is looking at this. He does believe in gold and silver as money. I think he's also kind of playing around with the idea a little bit on some of the cryptos being able to potentially replace it because of its scarcity. All right, so that's that. I do want to say hi to a couple of folks on here. So thank you for joining, becoming a YouTube member. And also for PMG Silver Stacks, are you going to the fun show in Florida since Long Beach is closed? I'm very tempted about it. I just don't know how to make it work yet. So I don't know yet. I would like to. I'll have to see if we can swing it. I think it's coming up in July, if I'm correct. So I need to go look that up, but you guys could remind me of that as well. Well, thank you. I thought it was a pretty good show to hit for you guys too. Yes. I was working more hours than I've worked in a long time during COVID. And I think a lot of other people didn't have things to do and they had all this money coming. I also didn't get very much of the stimulus because I was making too much, even though all my paycheck goes to just living here in California. I don't know how many of you guys are paying, between $500 and $1,000 a month for electricity, but we get to do that here in California. So yeah, utilities here in California for just a modest house is going to run you at least $1,000 a month. All right, let's see. Silver Journey's in the house. Welcome. All right, let's see what we got here. Yes, I'm going to tell you my Tesla story real fast on this stock. I bought Tesla when it was like $32, and I bought about $20,000 worth of it. The problem is this beautiful home you see here, but you don't really see more than my shutters. I needed to put more money down on the house, so I sold my Tesla that I bought at $32. I sold my Shopify I bought at about 28. I sold all my Bitcoin that I bought at about 6,000 a Bitcoin. And then I sold my Ethereum that I had bought. I think it was around like $300 or $200, something like that. And I had a lot of it. I had a pretty good chunk of it, but I needed to put a lot more money down. I think it was around $75,000 I had to put additionally down on this house. And so anyway, all of that disappeared on me, and all four of those things took off about 3 months later, which is a bummer because they went up high enough that $75,000 would have turned into about 1.3 million. And then I could have easily repaid it. But you got to have money that's seasoned. You got to have it that's in your account, and you got to move in a pretty fast fashion, or you're going to lose a house. So, the trick for me is I didn't have any more money to use after that. That kind of took what I had to play with. And so it's a bummer when you get into situations like that. But I was able to see some really good stocks at the time. It was right before the Model 3 was even out, and we weren't sure if Elon was going to do it. So I was betting the farm a little bit on it. But you guys can make killer money on this stuff. I did the same thing with Apple before the iPhone came out. As soon as I saw the iPod come out and I bought one and I was using it, I said, this company is going to take off again. Steve Jobs is going to build this up. So I bought a bunch of Apple stock. Same thing. It's usually in between real estate transactions that I'm doing. So it's one of those things where if you can find a good company and you believe in it, you can buy the stock and hold on to it. You don't really need to be trading it. You can just wait for it to go up. Even where Tesla's at today, which I think it's like around 350 or 400, but where Tesla's at today, you could own that, and it's probably going to go a lot higher. Even if we have a crash, you could hold it. Just don't panic sell it if it goes down a lot. That's where you lose your money. Unless you're doing a strategy where you want to sell it quickly and buy it back 30 days later and take a loss, but your loss is probably going to be a lot more than what you are going to be able to recapture in your taxes anyway. Let's see. Oh yeah, so check out Andy's stream too. It's really fun with him and Tattoo. It's different than anything else he does out there. Okay, all right, so close. This is where we closed at for the day. 3,356.90 for gold, and silver was at 33.45. That's better than I thought we were going to be at, guys. I really did think we were going to be getting a lot closer to 3,000 before we get starting to move back up towards 3,500. We still may see some of that happen as well. It kind of depends. Like the charts say we should be going down up until the last week and a half, but you can get a tweet from Trump or I guess a post, whatever you call it on a social platform. And everything can change. So you got to watch out for those things too. I have not read that. I'll have to take a look at it. Let's see. Now you can do this too, guys. Okay. So if you have the time to do it, you can totally do it. My issue is I'm pretty much on phone calls like this face to face from about 7 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon Pacific time. Sometimes I'll get a break for a half an hour, maybe an hour. When I'm doing this and I'm talking to you guys like I am now, it is really hard to do day trading. Okay. Yeah, I don't have room for another computer to be set up. You can maybe sneak it on your phone, but when people are watching you and you're the one that's sharing information and helping people, which is what I do for my job too, it's really hard to keep trading back and forth all the time. So for my mentor program, what I'm really focused on is not about day trading, but it's looking at some good inflection points to get into some of the mining stocks and Even though the prices come up a little bit, they're still good to get into. You really can't go too wrong on those. But we'll want to look for some times where it kind of dips down a little bit. A handful of them I bought about a week or two ago, and I'm trying to figure out how to get those loaded in to share what I did. Those went up. So I don't know if I can share this with my screen or not. Let's see. With one of my accounts. Okay, so I'll just show you guys this way. I've been trying to get all this loaded in, but it doesn't always work. All right, so you can look at this. And these are a bunch of the mining stocks that I purchased. Two of them are kind of in the red. If you go to the top with Courier, is at 29.96% gain so far on that one. And that's the highest position I've got. So, some decent calls there. And, I didn't buy these a year ago. I bought these recently. And so, I'm going to need to wait a little while for those to start to move up. But gold's going higher. I think it's going to 4,000 this year. I think silver is going to $40. And so I really do think that, you can't go too wrong buying some of those things. Now, I can't give you guys financial advice on here or even in my mentor program or my one-on-one coaching. What I can do is coach you guys, though. I can help you understand the principles of that. I can show you what I'm doing. It's going to be up to you guys to decide how you go about doing that. But to that point, though, about making money and profits there, I made a lot of money trading Apple over about a 3-month period of time, just going up and down in the channel like this. Now, we're not seeing a lot of channels right now. We're seeing a lot of ups and downs, and these channels are massive. Go look at Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin has been trading in a channel for a while. It went all the way up to 105 or 103,000, I think. No, 109. And went back down into the 85, and now it is back up to 110. You can make money in these channels going back and forth if you know how to trade and you've got the temperament for it. But don't try to be a trader if you don't have the time for it. That's where you get yourself really burned. Michael Porter, welcome. All right, let's see what else you guys got for me. China is no. I don't know if I believe this. I'll have to look this up. If you guys know anything about helium-3, if they can really pull that off, then you got some pretty good fuel for fusion generators. So that would be really interesting too. How did Amazon take $10,000? I sent in $10,000 of inventory to Amazon, and they've had a problem with getting it into their fulfillment by Amazon. And I was talking to a lady, and she was helping me with everything. And then I got really sick over Christmas break, and it never got completely fixed and resolved. And then they kicked out my credit card while I was sick for a month, and I didn't know that they did that. And as I tried to get a hold of them again, there's no phone number to reach them. And the text people just kept telling me put a new credit card in. I went through all 10 of my credit cards and debit cards. None of them would work. And they threw all of my inventory away, which really ticks me off. And it's gone. So what I'm doing now is I'm trying to gather all of my inventory so I can write off the $10,000 loss. And then from there, I'll be reaching out to a couple of VPs that I found on X to see if they can fix the problem, or if I'm just going to have to set up a whole nother Amazon store. They've also got affiliates. If you've clicked on any of the affiliate links in the channel here, they're not paying out any of that stuff. I don't know what they're doing. That's how they took $10,000. They basically just handed it over. Now, to them, their system looks at it and says, you didn't pay your bill, so we got rid of your stuff. Well, there was no way to correct the bill. There was no way to put new information in. There was no way for, they don't contact you. They send an email like 3 times, and that's it, and your stuff's gone. So I've been selling on Amazon since 2007. I've sold millions of dollars of stuff on Amazon, and I've never had this problem until now. So I'm not real happy about that. And you can only contact them Monday through Friday during the time I work. So it's almost impossible to try to reach these guys. Let's see here. You wish people would call it illegal gold confiscation. Well, if it's an executive order, it's technically not illegal. It does go against the Constitution. Taxing gold at 28% federally for capital gains is technically legal, but it goes against the Constitution. I mean, what are you going to do about it? Like, if the billionaires that actually have money aren't going to sue the federal government for breaking the law and not upholding the Constitution, I don't know what any of us are going to be able to do about it. But we got to fix things. This country is not going to last another 250 years. I'll tell you that. All right, let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I remind my wife every once in a while how much you like the house. Now, granted, my house has doubled in price, but Tesla went up 1,800%. Shopify went up, I think, 1,600%. I think Bitcoin went up. I'd have to do the math on it, but I think that was pretty close to 1,800% there to get it up to about 80 or 90. So now that it's way higher than that, yeah. But it's okay. What goes around comes around. The right stuff will happen. You know, you just figure things out. Do not beat yourself up over missing opportunities. What I'm excited about is I saw the opportunity and I knew what to do. I just didn't have a way of staying in the game long enough. And those kind of things do happen. Okay. Yeah, we'll keep having Andy on, guys. So he'll keep coming on. We're trying to figure out schedules again and make it work. I think we're trying to have him on again next week. Okay, I'll tell you a couple on here real quick. All right. So here's what I would tell you as far as tickers go. CDE is a good, solid company. Okay, that's Coyer Mining. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but there you go. Okay, that's a good one. And it is up right now. They've had some good earnings, but you got to look at the mining stocks. You got to go research who are the executives. You need to go and see how much free cash flow they have and how much cash reserves they have. How much gold are they sitting on? And how much gold is being reported that is in the ground that they have access to. They just need to mine it. This company killed its earnings. So Robinhood's a little easier for me to just interact with. It's not the best app out there, but those dots right there, the darker green one is what they ended up coming out with. The lighter green is what they were projected, realized. Huge delta. Stock goes up. So that's the one stock I would tell you to go do your own research on and go check it out. Another stock I like a lot too is Pan American Silver. So there's a gold and a silver one. You can go take a look at them too. So I like both of those stocks. Robinhood's a pretty good app from giving you a couple quick things like earnings. There'll be some articles in there when it's a bigger company. They'll also give you this indication of buying and selling. So this is at 100% buy right now. Don't use those things to make your decisions on buying and selling. Use those as just another data point to help you be comfortable with the decision you're deciding to make. You also want to look at the charts and see, am I in a relative top over the last couple months, or am I towards the bottom of it? It's okay to buy at the top. Just know that as it goes back down, you're going to see some paper losses, and you just don't sell it when it goes down there. You buy more of it, and over time you bring that price down that you paid for on average, and that's okay to do too. Sometimes you just need to get your feet in the door, so you can do that. Surfer, could you do that with Glint? You'll have to tell me. I don't know what you mean about that. Okay, you want to talk banks? We'll talk banks real quick. Okay. My family has a lot of banking history, okay? I don't want to share it openly on YouTube because it gives my identity away to a degree. And I also don't want the Fed knocking on my door and all of that. I do want to write a book about it one of these days. But my family was in the savings and loan industry. And as far as I can tell, from everything I've done my research on, and my dad was on the board of directors for this publicly traded company. And it was a family business, by the way, that went really big, and then it crashed in 2008. It looks to me, and reading The Creature from Jekyll Island, it looks to me like the banks didn't like credit, didn't like savings and loans. They took away all of the ways that savings and loans could make profits that were, let's say, conservative. They did a lot of that in the 80s, and that really started pushing savings and loans to the point where they had to make riskier bets on subprime lending, negative amortization loans, and they had to do a lot of 3151 and I forget the other, might be like 8-year ARMs, maybe it's 7-year ARMs. They got into a lot of that stuff to be competitive with the banks. They just weren't large enough to compete with Bank of America and Wells Fargo and Citibank and all those big banks. So anyway, when all of the banking companies, except for credit unions, did pretty well during 2008, they were okay. But the savings and loans and the banks, the nationals and the regional banks got hit so hard in 2007 and 2008. I knew what was going to happen in 2007, by the way, because I could see what was going on. And that's when things were starting to get really bad for us. 0 foreclosures up to like thousands of foreclosures. So I knew there was going to be some kind of a crash that was coming. I started getting out of real estate, and I sold all my properties and everything like that as fast as I could. Maybe not early enough on some of them. But basically, most of your banks, your global, the national banks and a lot of the regional banks crashed. They went out of business. They got bailed out by the Obama administration, but they did not bail out the savings loans, not a single one of them. They let them all go down. So my theory is everything consolidates. I think the country or the Fed or the federal government wants 3 banks. And I think before we get there, you're going to get down to probably, a couple hundred we have 4,500 right now. I think it's going to go down to a couple hundred of them. Then I think you're going to get down to maybe 15, 7, 5, 3. It's all about control. It's about consolidation. If that happens, it's going to be really hard to get personal loans. It's going to be hard to get a loan for a startup or a project you want to do because the competition basically dries up. So what does that have to do with credit unions? I think credit unions are still a lot safer than regional banks right now. And I think the national banks are safer than the regional banks right now. I think the regional banks is the next target, okay, that they want to go after and take them out. Now, they'll never just shut them down. But if a situation gets set up to where the regional banks fail, they just don't have to, bail them out anymore. They can have them bail themselves in. And that's a whole nother story. I think we're going to see a day where that happens, and I don't think it's going to necessarily happen all at one time. It could, but these things can play out over decades. So it might take a long time for us to completely get there, but they'll continue to consolidate more and more. I'd be surprised if we don't see some more bank failures in the next year to 2 years. I'm surprised we haven't seen a lot more than we have. Most of the regional banks own the office buildings that you see in the cities and in the smaller medium cities and the large ones, and people still aren't going back to the office, and so you've got companies that are just not paying their leases anymore. You've got the real estate owner of the property that is having to refinance the loan every 3 to 5 years, and now they're going from a 2% interest rate up to a 7 or 8% interest rate. They're just going to turn the property back into the bank for the most part. So those guys are all loaded up. They don't have the cash reserves. That's all an issue. So safest place to put your money, if you're going to put it into an institution, in my opinion, is probably a credit union. But you need to do your homework on a credit union. Where they have the biggest risk is car loans, okay? If they've been issuing a lot of car loans and personal loans to people, that's where they can have their biggest risk in the credit union side. So anyway, nothing's 100% safe. I like to have some of it nearby in case they shut down ATMs or you don't have access to it. But I also have to have money in my account. So I have a regional bank, I've got a national bank, and I have a credit union that I use. I should probably have more of it into the credit union, but I just don't keep a lot of my funding or my wealth into there. been moving most of it into precious metals. Will they go after credit unions? Probably at some point. And credit unions will probably get hit by more regulation. They'll just make it, in my opinion, I think they'll just make it really small so that credit unions are only, small geographic base. They may have fewer features they can do. And eventually, I think it'll just not be something that it's not a product people will like as much. And so, I think that's how they kind of take that down. But that's just me, right? If they go down and they make it simple like that, you may just not be able to get as big of loans and things like that. All right. I am like so far behind, I think. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking, guys. We could be off a bit on that, but I think that's very possible. That's funny. I wonder exactly how it translates. The old Chinese farmer parable. Sorry, you were unlucky. You were unlucky. Maybe we shall see. So everything, everything's okay, guys. You got to learn from the experiences that you have. That's why we do them live. Okay. When I do the shows live, he has to kind of go off of that. I don't think anybody else does a live show with him except for himself later that day with Tattoo with Kevin. But I have to tell you, I will probably start taking his live streams and cutting them down to some other videos because we're not getting nearly the views on the live streams as we could on the standalone videos. Those can get a ton more views. It's just the way YouTube works and how they promote it out there. For whatever reason, when it's live stream, they don't throw as many people in this direction. And so I'm definitely taking a hit to the channel by doing live streams with Andy than doing the standalone videos. So I'm going to talk to him about that. We're going to try to figure out what we can do there. But I also don't want to get rid of the format because I think it's a great format for us to have. So maybe we'll end up doing one live stream a week or a month with him, and maybe we'll do another one that's just a video. All right, guys. Yep, you do that. You do that. This, I don't like those people. Stay away from them. Pure evil. If you want to know who's controlling the world and destroying everything, it's these guys right here. They've been doing it for, I want to say it's like 350 years or something. They're all over the what do you call it? Creature from Jekyll Island book. Okay. And yeah, my genealogy is mostly English, Scottish, Irish, and then I can trace back into the Norwegian royalty out there. So that's kind of where my side comes from. There you go. Truist Bank. Yeah, my company works at that place. Okay. So funny enough, my most searched for term that ends up having people show up at my channel is goldbacks. I wish I could get them to talk to me again, but they won't talk to me until my channel's a lot bigger. They come out and said that we're just not talking to small channels, which is too bad because I think I could help them make a lot more money than a lot of these other big channels because most of the ones they're working with talk a lot of crap about it. They don't actually go out and show you how to use it. Go watch my videos on how to use the goldbacks. It's pretty fun. But here's the deal. Don't stack goldbacks. So don't go buy big stacks of goldbacks in lieu of buying a gold bar or a gold coin. You stack goldbacks because of their form function and because you want to be able to help support the company and support the whole idea of sound money. That's why you buy goldbacks. So I've got a whole stack of them of goldbacks, I think 100 of them, and I'm not going to give those away, and I'm going to hold on to those and just keep them. And the reason for that is because they are great tools for barter, especially in go bags or emergency bags or in your car. So another tip I'll give you guys on that is open up your glove box and there's always a manual in there. Throw some goldbacks in between pages. No one's going to ever find that. Okay. No one's going to go through looking in there. And that's a way for you to go stash away, 50, 100, a couple $100 that you have in emergency funds in your vehicle. And yeah, can you spend them? You can. Even in California, you can spend them. You can find a coin store that will take them from you. You can also talk to people that own businesses, and a lot of times once you show them what it is, all you have to do is go to the Goldback website. I think it's goldback.com, and there's an exchange rate that's right on there. You can show them it's 24 karat gold. This is how much they exchange for. And you'd be surprised. There's a lot of people out there that are willing to take gold and silver for barter, especially right now. Is it easy as cash? No, it's not. But goldbacks can be pretty fun. So I'm not someone that says they're a waste of money and they're too high of premiums. If you think goldbacks are too high of premiums, you don't understand the product. You don't understand how to use it. I wouldn't go buy $10,000 of goldbacks and put those in the safe. I am going to show you guys some tricks on how to make money from goldbacks, but I just need the time to get that set up. All right, let's see what else you guys got. I'm not going to talk too much about the banks because they're my largest customers for my day job. That's what I do, is banking stuff, and AI and software. So I can't tell you guys what I know about the banks and what they're doing. What I can tell you though is Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and JP Morgan Chase, those are what we consider to be too big to fail banks. I highly doubt those banks will ever have a bail-in. They'll probably always have a bailout by the taxpayer dollars. So I really don't think anything's going to happen with those. That doesn't mean that it couldn't. It doesn't mean that your money's 100% safe there. It's important to understand with FDIC insurance that there's roughly $200 billion, sorry, that's backing around somewhere between 11 and 13 trillion dollars of deposits. So if we have a systemic problem that then cascades from bank to bank to bank to bank, similar to 2008 again, we could see a situation where there's just not enough enough FDIC insurance to pay out even the secured deposits that you have in there. Okay. And if those aren't to be covered, then either Congress has to officiate and decide they're going to pay and print a bunch of new money to give everybody their money. Let's say it's $10 trillion all of a sudden. That's 10 trillion new dollars in the market. You're going to have massive hyperinflation. If it only hits a couple banks, then the FDIC insurance can cover that. If it hits a lot of the big banks, you either have to do that or you have some other problem, right? You just decide not to print the money. People don't have their money. The bigger issue is, what if you wake up and all of your bank accounts are zeroed out? It's been hit by a cyber attack and there's no record of you having a dollar in there anymore. So if you're worried about banks at all, you can always have paper statements sent to your house. So you at least have a record with the bank to show how much you had in there. It's going to give you a slice of time down to the minute once a month. So it's not perfect, but you know, if you had a bank statement from 5 years ago versus now, the bank's going to say, well, we have no idea what you had in there. So that's not a bad idea to do for accounts that you have a lot of money in. Never put in more than $250,000 into one of those accounts, unless you have a trust and you know what you're doing. Spread it out among banks. You know, it's less likely they all go down at the same time. It's more likely that a few of them have a major problem, and then there's maybe fear that kicks in for the others. You know, I wouldn't be afraid of the banks. The banks do have a lot of good that they're doing in services. They allow us to have nicer homes and be able to have mortgages, and they provide a good service from that standpoint. Same with cars. Where the issue really comes down to is, it really comes down to you in a lot of ways. Like, are you borrowing too much money? Do you have too much debt? Maybe don't go buy that nice thing. But as far as banks to use, I don't see any problem with using Merrill Lynch or Bank of America. You know, a lot of it comes down to the person you're working with, if you're dealing with a lot of money too. If it's just your everyday stuff and having money in there, a bank is a bank for the most part. You know, you can do a little bit of research on the web. You can also use AI to better understand the risks that particular bank has. You could ask AI to go through their quarterlies and their annual reports, especially if you don't know how to read that stuff. And you can ask it, hey, compare the top 3 banks. Which one of these looks like they're in the best shape financially? You can do something like that. Uh-oh. Would you use a house that's almost completely paid off for equity on another property, or would you rather be debt-free with an unhappy girlfriend? Interesting. My wife's like kind of the opposite. She wants the house paid off. Well, first off, does your girlfriend own the house? Do you own the house? Okay, there's some differences there. If it's a house you own, maybe you want to keep your girlfriend happy, but it's not your wife. You got to kind of look at that situation a little bit. There's a reason she's your girlfriend, not your wife. And if you've got a lot of equity in it, it depends on what you're trying to do with that. It depends on where you're trying to go with it. It can be kind of a tricky situation in that place. Having a paid off house gives you security, and it gives you the state of mind of knowing that you're not going to get kicked out of your house because you can't pay the mortgage. However, because we have property tax in the US, you've got to have enough money saved up, or gold and silver. I like gold for this situation, to be able to pay your property taxes for multiple years, to make sure you don't lose the house as well. One thing that California has going for it, even though it's basically a form of rent control, is our Prop 13 locks in our property taxes. So I bought my house in 2018. My property taxes are locked in at that point. And each year it can go up a total of 2% per year. I think that's until you're 55, and then it stops. So, one of the things that's tricky is, if I want to move next door to this house behind me, my property taxes will go up by double. And it's expensive here. I'm already at about $21,000 a year in property tax. I move next door, almost the same house, right? Track homes. And let's say I could just do a trade. The state or the county is going to charge me about $42,000 a year for property tax. That kind of stinks. So in here in California, we kind of just stick with where our house is. If you're in other places which is almost all the rest of the country, with property taxes where it can potentially double, you need to make sure you have enough money to secure that. So the only issue I have with taking money out of a house that's paid off, where you have a lot of equity in, is, what are you going to do with it? Is it a fairly secure, asset that you're buying? Are you looking to create cash flow? Those are things that could be positive. But if you're going to take it and go dump it into crypto, which is a very highly risky asset, and you might say, how could it be risky? Bitcoin started off at 0.1% or penny, and now it's at 110,000. Okay. Yes, but it isn't anything. It could go to zero too. There's nothing backing it. It's technology and software sitting on a ledger. If the electricity went off and we never had electricity again on the planet, you could still have a house. You don't have Bitcoin. Yes, that's a thin percentage, but that's the example there. So I probably wouldn't put money into something that's highly risky to do that. Now, gold and silver would be less of a risk, right? But you need to be very careful with that. If you're doing those kinds of things, that's where I definitely decide that I can help coach you on some of that stuff. But I would definitely get a financial planner, or probably financial planner, to at least bounce some ideas off of. You might want to talk to maybe to a financial advisor if you're looking to do stocks with it, but I would be cautious there. But it depends on what you need. If you need cash flow to be able to take stress out of the family and out of your life right now, and you got a lot of equity in your house, that is something you can do, especially if you're young enough where you can, rebuild that equity back up and pay that down. So it's a tricky one. I'm kind of dealing with this a little bit with myself too. We've had our house double in price, so there's a lot more equity than was here before. Do I take that out and have a bigger loan and go buy a bunch of gold and silver and watch it go up? Mining stocks, maybe even a little bit of crypto too. Or do I leave it in the house, where I don't think real estate's really going to be going up as much as other things? So this is a good question. This one's kind of a hard one to do. But yeah, you got to kind of figure out how to make the girlfriend happy, but at the same time, you don't want to get yourself into a sticky situation financially. Yeah. They manipulate silver, and they'll do that until they lose the ability to manipulate it, and then they'll either cough it up or they'll go bankrupt. But which means they're probably going to cough it up. All right, let's see what else you guys have, and then we're going to do giveaway here. No, I've never had anybody offer me any gold backs, so I haven't been able to do that. As far as receiving gold, silver, or gold backs in exchange for something, I wish I could. It's what I do for work and things that I can do. I can help you make your company better from a marketing perspective. Most people don't pay out silver or gold backs for that. If you happen to be a mechanic or a plumber and you want to get more metals, you could definitely make that easier and do that. All right, let's see. Yeah, this is kind of what I'm saying too. They're not meant for stacking, guys. They're meant for basically to be used as a currency. The other thing to keep in mind too is I like silver eagles. I do like silver eagles better than having just a bunch of random silver rounds. You're going to pay a premium for them, and you're not going to get all that premium back until the price takes a big move. And percentage-wise, will they go up more than rounds? Maybe not. But they are more recognized. They're easier to sell. And so there are some benefits to that. But just because that's the case, that doesn't mean you want majority of all your coins to be silver eagles. So it's kind of the same philosophy. Cyber attack season. I don't know, man. We've been having that go on for a year, so we'll see what happens. But I wouldn't put it past them. Mr. Klaus Schwab, that was heading up the World Economic Forum, gave a pretty important speech back in 2018 or 19, talking about a certain pandemic that could happen and to get prepared for it. And then I remember Anthony Fauci saying when Trump became president in 2017 or 18, I guess it would be 2018 around that time, he said there's going to be a pandemic during this presidency. How can you for certainty say there's going to be, right? It wasn't I think there could be or there's an 80% chance. It was there's going to be a pandemic during this presidency. That doesn't happen unless you know that it's going to happen. So they either have a time machine hidden somewhere or they let the cat out of the bag, in my opinion. Now, with that said, Klaus Schwab came out a couple years ago and said there's going to be a cyber attack and it's going to be super, super bad. Maybe I'll do a short on that for you guys. I've got to go find the video of him doing that. I don't think he's joking around. I think there's probably a good, chance we have something like that. So how do you get ready for that? Well, just think to yourselves, cyber attacks either going to hit the water. So what would you do if you didn't have running water for, a couple months? They could hit the banks. What would you do if you couldn't use your credit card, debit card, or get cash out of the bank for a couple months? They could hit the electrical grid. What would you do if there was no electricity for, a couple of months? That's kind of the way to look at it. What would you do if there's no medical or you can't get to the hospital for a couple of months? So I'd look at things like that. I wouldn't freak out about it. It may not happen. But you can go get things to kind of prepare you for that and put you in good shape. So that's kind of how you might look at doing things along those lines. Cash, I think, will still be working. If the banks went down for a while and you couldn't get stuff out, I think cash would still work. I think you could use your silver at that time too. If it's more of a electricity thing, that's going to be something where you want food around because the stores are done. They're not going to be doing anything, or a garden. And you're not going to want to go out into that mess probably in any of those situations. So having stuff local in your house is going to be very key. I don't have anything in this room, but you can always store away 30-year food buckets in different places. So welcome, LL. And yes, happy Memorial Day to everybody. And I want to thank everybody that has been in the military, that has served. My grandfather served in the Korean War. My dad did not serve. And I have not served. I don't think they would take me. I got too many health issues, but I want to thank anybody that's done that, because it's a huge importance, and it's what gives us the ability to have, freedom of speech, and to be able to enjoy the things we enjoy in life. Okay, I'm going to go down to the bottom here because we're going to do a GAW. Let's see if there's anything else. All right, I think we're good there. All right, let me pull up the GAW deal so we can do that. And I just got to pull up the screen here. Okay, so let's do this. My eye is itching, sorry guys. Let's do this. Let's do, we're just going to keep it simple today. Okay, so go ahead and put this in the chat. You only need to do it once, guys. Did someone say God? All right, we got another super chat here. What's a good amount of junk silver and gold should a person have to be comfortable? All right, these are the best questions, but they're the hardest ones to answer real quick. So you guys go gather, start putting everything in there in the chat. I think I put that in there, right? So hashtag gold. I'm going to answer that in a second here. Let me get the screen share going. So you guys can see the entries coming in. Okay, so here's what I would say about junk silver, and I'm going to separate gold for a second. To me, junk silver has one purpose, and there's a couple times when I buy it. So to me, junk silver has the main purpose of bartering. Okay, you might get some really nice pieces. I wouldn't call that junk. That have rare dates, that are in better condition, and that just may be a fun coin you want to collect. Okay, that goes to the side. So let's just talk about the things that have been worn and circulated out there. I buy that for barter. That's my prepper stacking mentality when I get into the junk silver. I like to call it constitutional silver, but it's a little longer for people to say. Here's what I started off doing. I started off with trying to get $50 face value in junk silver per person in my house. And once I got to that point, I went to 100. And then from there, I started seeing some really good deals on constitutional junk silver, kind of at the end of last year and the beginning of this year. And I had a local friend call me that had a friend that wanted to get, or had a friend's grandma that wanted to get rid of a whole bunch of dimes. And these were like mercury dimes that look like they've never been circulated at all in a bag. And I was able to pick those up at basically spot price. So that was kind of a no-brainer. And I picked up a ton of Morgan dollars and peace dollars at 25 bucks a piece. And that was kind of late last year. So for me, that was pretty cool. And I wanted to pick up more of that anyway. And I got to the point where I started looking at it and trying to do the math. If a dime gets you a dozen eggs, let's say, in a bartering type situation like it has in the past, and some people may say 2 dozen eggs for it. It just depends on how much in demand the silver is and how much of it people don't have. He who has the gold or the silver makes the rules, as always. And if you're in a situation where you can't eat, he who has the eggs makes the rules or the wheat or whatever. But I like to kind of do that. So for me, I'm at that point where I'm looking at about $200 face per person in my family. And I'll probably keep buying a little bit of, constitutional junk silver here and there. So should is a word that is really hard for anybody that's in the stacking community to do or talk about, because I don't know your situation. I don't know how many people are in your family. I don't know how many other resources you have. You could have a 2-acre farm for all I know, and you have enough food production out there to, take care of your family. You might live kind of more in the city like I do, and, there's no way to really grow food here. And there's no rivers or lakes here. There's just a polluted ocean that's fun to surf in, but you got to shower right after. And even if you could desalinize it, you probably don't want to drink it. It's probably got Fukushima radioactive stuff in there from the meltdown in Japan when they had the earthquake. But that's kind of what I would say for that. Now, gold, as far as bartering goes, I would only look at your grams and your 10th ounces, and I wouldn't get a ton of them, but those could be used for bartering. If you're talking about just what percentage of gold or silver, it just depends. For me, every $1 of silver I have $2 worth of gold. I've got twice as much value in gold as I do in silver. It's kind of just how it ended up being, because to me, gold's wealth insurance, and I went after that first, and then I started building a little bit more on silver. You guys may go the opposite. You might start with silver and then build up to it. So that's just the things you got to look at. Okay, we've got 25 in here. Hopefully that helps a little bit. Everybody can be a silver pro. Yes, guys, look. If you spend a lot of time watching silver and gold channels, and then you spend a lot of time buying, and you spend a lot of time going to coin shows, you're going to become an expert pretty quickly. It's not rocket science. There's not a lot of tricks you need to learn with this. It's more of experience. I've been able to cram a lot of experience in 4 years. Some of you have been stacking for 20, 30, 40 years. And you probably have more experience than I do, or you might have less. It just depends on how you guys have done it. All right, we're going to go and spin this guy now. And then while that's spinning, I'm going to go get the GAW real quick. No. I don't want it. Dang it. You guys are going to never live this down now. Now the giveaway tool on StreamYard is rigged. All right, we're going to spin this again. Oh, goodness. Now, if that happens again, then we have a really problem. All right, we're going to have to double it. Yankee's right. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Time lapse. In the chat, you got two options here right now. Okay, we're going to hopefully get some more sponsors so I can do some even more epic giveaways for you guys coming up. Right now, we're a little bit on budget. But you've got option one is a New Hampshire, beautiful New Hampshire, 1 gold back. Look at that. We're talking about those today. Option two is the mystery package. Okay, there is silver in here, by the way, but it's a mystery package, okay? And this comes from some people didn't claim stuff on the 10,000 sub party. All right. So let me know which one you want. Time lapse real quick, and then we'll do another run here for doubling that since it landed on me. I think Yankee started that rule. And then what I need you to do is send me an email. Okay. So send me an email at gmail.com. All right, we got the mystery. Boom, right there. So then we're going to do another giveaway. This will be for one of the gold backs, okay? The next giveaway. Now, send me your YouTube handle and then the name I need to put on for your address and your address so that I can go ahead and mail that off to you. It's not beautiful New Hampshire today. Uh-oh. And the weather shock is right now. I think Yankee was enjoying Florida quite a bit. All right. Here it's not too bad. We're 72 degrees. We're going to draw this again. Here in Southern California, we're 72 degrees. So we don't tend to get super hot by the beach here. And oh, you guys need to see this. Okay, shoot. That's my bad. Here's the winner, MP68. Congratulations. That was anticlimactic. I'm sorry. You guys want to see the confetti shoot up at the first. All right, MP68. So send me your information. I got this beautiful New Hampshire gold back for you, and it doesn't come with snow. It comes with a little bit of sunshine. And if you put a flashlight on this, it'll be even shinier. All right. Well, hopefully you guys had fun with this. I'm still kind of figuring out the format for lives, and we'll get it built as we go. But sometimes you just have to get started. That's how I got with my channel when I started doing this thing. I did not feel like I was ready. I remember talking to Yankee about it, and I also talked to Stormy over at Empire Precious Metals, and I'm like, no, I need to like 6 months to get my whole formula right, to get intros right, and everything set up on StreamYard and all this stuff. And I think Yankee just told me, he's like, just start putting stuff out. So I did that. So you know, what I want to tell you guys is if you have a thought of wanting to do a channel, you don't have to show your mug. You can just do hands and coins. You can even do one where you're not even using your own voice. You can type things out, and you can find a tool out there that will actually do the voiceover for you. So you can do that. But the key is to get involved in the community. Watch the channels, come and hang out. And you know, you're going to learn a lot. We're going to learn from you guys too. And we're going to have fun with it. And the more you do, the more you learn, the better you get at it. I just filmed 5 videos yesterday, walking about 4 miles around the beach and around downtown San Clemente. So I'm going to be editing those. A couple other things coming up. I have a really cool video that I hope you guys like with a financial planner that I put together. And it's to help with some of the concepts of stacking and how do we hold on to our gold and silver, especially in times of uncertainty and retirement. So that's going to be coming up next week. I might be able to get that out tomorrow. I don't know if I can get it edited fast enough. The other thing I've done a lot of filming of this week is I've got a gentleman that you guys have not met yet, but he's the co-founder of PCGS and lives not too far from me here. And he is the person that started the entire grading set for PCGS. He's also the second employee and co-founder. And anyway, the guy's brilliant. And most of the filming we've done came out pretty good. I'm going to have to help it a little bit with lighting. But here's the thing. We are going to do a whole series on grading. And some of you don't care about grading, but others of you do. We're looking at crazy expensive coins that they have. It might be the only time you get to see some of these kind of coins, but you're going to hear the history of why PCGS got started. You're going to hear some of the history of the goods and pads that they went through. And you're going to be able to learn a little bit more about how they set up the first grading set and how they had to put that together and what this situation looked like. So it's going to be fun. You guys are going to enjoy those. And then outside of that, hopefully we'll continue to have some other good interviews coming up. And then we're going to have a situation where I'm going to start doing a bunch of videos on the beach with people and in the malls around here, asking them how much silver and gold's worth. We're going to do a whole mix of those. If you guys haven't seen those videos, go check them out. There's a lot of fun videos where people decided that they'd rather have a $4 Klondike bar than a $30, well, at the time, I think it was a $35 Silver Eagle. Okay. So we're going to have some fun with that coming up too. All right. You guys just totally slammed me with super chats. So let me just call those out real quick because I got to do that. So JT Coin, or just Jake's Custom Parts. Okay. JT Coin came in the last one. Jake's Custom Parts. Thank you so much for that. Buy some junk silver for the winter. Okay. All right. You guys like that? We can do that. You're crushing it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. And you built strong stacking cred. All right. Appreciate that. And he's got another one in here. What else did he put in here? The sky's the limit for you, bro. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate those. So what I'll do, let's see, Jake. I'm going to go ahead and get some more constitutional silver for next Friday, guys, and we'll do that as a giveaway, okay? And Jake has helped us donate some of that, okay? So we'll have some cool coins next week for a giveaway. I don't know exactly if I'm going to have Andy on Tuesday. I need to check that. I am going to be doing another interview with him next week, but I believe we're going to put that out as a video and then we'll have another special guest there. But you guys, just do it, right? Start stacking. Don't go crazy. Don't take your emergency fund money and go buy gold and silver. And, you know, still have cash on hand, okay? Because that stuff's going to get used first. But I do recommend getting gold and silver if you haven't done it yet. And I do recommend, getting a secure place to store it as well, okay? So I want to thank you guys for coming out, and until next time, peace out.